audience to the webinar series on New Age Entrepreneurship. It is a webinar by GSBS Private Limited, moderated by Center for Skill Development. And today the session learning outcomes are: what is entrepreneurship, who is an entrepreneur, and when one should become an entrepreneur, what are the new ways and new opportunities, how one can become an entrepreneur, what role we can play, and what are the post-COVID entrepreneurship opportunities. And we are recasting it as earlier one also was casted, and as we missed a couple of audience, we thought we can recast the same with a revisited things. Now I'm here to introduce the Center for Skill Development. It is sponsored by Skill Development Association. More about the organization, you can see sda.org.in/CSD. It operates with the principle Dharmena Praptasya Vriddhi, that is prosperity through righteousness, means being righteousness, one will prosper. So with that line, we are offering a couple of services for the skill development. And we have the principal organization, GSBS Private Limited, that is giving simple business solutions. More about the organization, you can visit www.gsbsonline.in. It operates within the wheel of learning, that is reading, thinking, operating, and communicating, with the 5 spokes, right? Based on the principle of 5 spokes, that is when, where, what, why, who, and how. I briefly offer my introduction. I chair CSD institution. My background, I'm a double doctorate, PhD in supply chain management and post PhD in skill development. I have double decade of experience, that is a decade in the industry with pharma and education, and a decade in academia with reputed universities like Osmania, JNTU Hyderabad, Kakinada, Andhra University, and Adikavi Nanna University. In half a decade in between, I have spent in the hybrid of academic and industry, trying to see, what are the things I can bring in. And I have instituted double institution, that is Skill Development Association and Baby Skill Center for Skill Development. And I also hold an exemplary mentor with Atal Innovation Mission of Niti Aayog, Government of India. I also hold the position of President in the Institutional Innovation Council by MHRD, Government of India. I've been a visiting professor and also Professor Emeritus at multiple universities. And I have pleasure in introducing my guru, my mentor, the speaker of the evening, Sri Madhusudan Junjunwala. He is the CEO of GSBS Private Limited. He is a professional manager turned entrepreneur with 3 decades of experience. Enterprise, value creation, and profit through sustainable, principled, and simple means have been his credo. And he believes and practices that no problem ever exists without a solution, and a problem is an opportunity to develop an organization. He is BTech honors from IIT Kharagpur and MS from Southern Illinois University, USA. He is associated with Videocon Group as Chief Operating Officer and Vice President, and he is as a President with GL Pro and many more industries. Various portfolios he held with Usha Martin Industries, Steel Authority of India Limited, Pest Control India, MSP Steel and Power, Esther Industries, International Conveyors, and many more. And he had attended several cutting-edge training programs and coaching programs in worldwide. To name few, he undergone business process reengineering, thorough orientation at Harvard Business School, and Six Sigma at Samsung Development Institute, Malaysia. Also trained in adoption of intermediate technologies in steel at Russia. And he believes simplicity means the achievement of maximum effect with minimum means, and profitability is an art of achieving maximum surplus using minimum resources. With this brief introduction, we are fortunate to have Mr. Madhusudan this evening. And with this, we welcome you all for the webinar on New Age Entrepreneurship. The agenda for the first 5 minutes, it will go with the introduction of both the speakers. And we have the 40-minute session from 4:05 to 4:45 on New Age Entrepreneurship. by Sri Madhusudan Jhunjhunwala. And there is a brief question and answers for 10 minutes, 4:45 to 4:55. And we'll be taking only select question and answers. As the listeners are only on the listen only mode, the questions they can type in the chat box. Only selective questions will be taken, and we are happy to answer all the questions. Subsequently, the questions will be answered in your mails. And last 5 minutes, we'll be offering the closing remarks. So with this, I welcome you all to the webinar on New Age Entrepreneurship. Now I am passing on the screen to Sri Madhusudan Jhunjhunwala. Yeah. Welcome you, sir, for this presentation on New Age Entrepreneurship today.
Well, very good afternoon, friends. And I welcome you all to this webinar. This webinar on entrepreneurship. I very grateful to my colleague, my friend Rudra. It has been his initiative which has resulted into these webinars and a series of webinars. You know, why this topic of entrepreneurship has become important today. I have been a professional myself before I quit a job way back in 2008, and I had a flourishing career with Videocon Group and several other companies. And then I decided to be on my own. Journey for last 12 years has been very, very truly challenging, inspiring, with all its ups and downs, curves and turns. It has taught me a lot. And then I thought for a while, why did not I could pull courage to become an entrepreneur myself maybe before 2008? You know, if I look back into my life as a professional, as a self-employed entrepreneur, whatever name you give, things have not changed except one thing. I have been a learner. I am a learner, and I only pray to continue to be a learner. If you play to win, you lose. And if you play to learn, you win. And you win every day because you learn every day. You know, this objective of this webinar is to basically try to share with all of you and build with the help of yours and amongst you a new perspective, a thought process about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has been there in every society. It is a part of every society, but it has got a lot of controversies around it. It is always at a subject of a debate in a society. And that actually creates a motivation whether people should become entrepreneur or not, should just stick to a job. I'm not saying that one must become an entrepreneur or one must remain in a job or a teacher. But one must have the capability to decide what kind of a profession, what kind of a calling would enable him to create the best for himself and for the society. He should be motivated to what he does. It is said If you love what you do what you love. So fundamental thing is that whatever we do in our lives, we should love it. And I just wish to share my understanding and experience in entrepreneurship with you as a professional, as an entrepreneur, so that you guys also can have a perspective. And particularly today, in a country of 1.3 billion people, 1.4 billion people, the subject of entrepreneurship has become very, very relevant. We are looking at a lot of startups, but those startups are happening only in the area of apps, computers, ITs. But would that be sufficient? Are startups not required into the old economic sectors like manufacturing and services? The objective of this webinar, my dear friend, is to make you think. You know, people have got gifted by God four fundamental faculties, that is, reading, thinking, writing, and communicating. And that is the essence of what we do at GSBS. Very carefully, I had designed what should be the logo of our organization, which should be having a message, we should convey a message, it should have a theme. And I realize whether you are a student, you are a teacher, you are a professional, you actually perform only four things. You read, you think, you write, you communicate. And only when you perfect and master these four skills, you become a leader. So therefore, my dear friend, it is a journey of learners. We are all learners. There's nobody an expert. I thought for a while when I was working, I started believing I was an expert. And I stagnated. But the day I realized I should be a learner, I think I am developing, learning every day. I am able to manage my time, my activities, my aspirations, and the work that I do, and the quality has improved because learning always keeps you fresh. So, gentlemen and ladies, the objective of this webinar is two, are two. A, you must know what is an entrepreneurship, what is a new age entrepreneurship. Can it be an option for you? How can you contribute? How you can become an entrepreneur? And there are so many questions comes to the mind of the people. So therefore, our endeavor is to ignite your mind. You start thinking that could I think entrepreneurship as an option in my life? And let me tell you one thing. With a new thinking, a new age always starts. A new thinking is always a bringing a new age, harbinger of a new age. So if you have a new thinking, every morning when you wake up, actually a new age begins for you, which we call, in economics and many other things, a zero-based budgeting. They just start afresh. In computers, we call it control del, reboot yourself. Maybe it is not possible for the societies, but for individuals, this new thinking, new age is possible every day. And I think we have a right to think and decide what is best for us. So in next couple of slides, for next 30 or 40 minutes, I would discuss to the best of my abilities on the subject of entrepreneurship with you, share your perspective, and try to give you my thoughts. It's extremely important, my dear friends, that we begin this presentation as to where we stand today, how we have come here, and what have been the factors which have brought us here. I hope you will agree that history is built of events, great events, memorable events, which change the course of history. History starts since time immemorial. There's no need to speak of it, and it's not possible to speak of it. And in today's scenario, it may not be relevant too. Therefore, I would talk to you about the historical events which have taken place globally in last 3 decades, since the decades of the 80s. And these events have been, for example, development of personal computing with Windows, change into politico-economic structure with unification of Germany. When the Berlin Wall, which was symbolic of the World War II and division of the world into cold, into East and West blocks, capitalism and communism, I think that got changed in 2000, in 1919, when two Germanies, East and West, came together for economic reasons. Then came the internet. Then the concept of outsourcing with 2000, Y2K, what we call. Then came the terrorist attack of 9/11. This was followed was 2008 global economic recession. Then a lot of process improvements with the help of technologies took place. For example, workflow software, this open source software, collaborative communities into technology development, then offshoring, supply chain, Google, digitization, personal computing. All these things put together have created a new world for us in last 3 decades, which is qualitatively different from the times before that. And last but not in the least, today we have, and what we are going through is called COVID-19, the pandemic. I think all these events together are going to reshape our thinking for the future. Entrepreneurship, whenever you think a future, entrepreneurship becomes an important issue, because it is with the help of entrepreneurship you build the society. And hence it is important for all of us, whether we are citizens of this country or any other country, that we think what the future is going to be tomorrow from here. My dear friend, I'm sure you will agree that the events that I spoke to you about of last 3 decades and even before have been a cumulative revolution of what we call education. Education changes the mindset, it builds the society, and education is supposed to bring affluence in the society by way of skilling people, by way of developing faculties of people, by developing the reasoning capability, by so on and so forth, so many things they can do, by building character of people, by making people aware that there has to be a balance between duties and rights, by creating solutions for the society. And education, last but not the least, is capable of creating behavioral change, economic transformation, and entrepreneurial revolution. When education and entrepreneurship come together, they create a holistic approach. They are complementary to each other. And education starts creating a solution for the society with in complete, the ecosystem of which teacher, student, professionals, entrepreneur, government, technology, and a politician, they are all part of it. They are all supposed to create a solution, not analysis and a prescription. I think gone are the days when prescriptions and suggestions were sufficient. But today, society's complex problems, they require solutions. What we should do, whether what we are doing is good or bad, for example, in the times of Corona, what government is doing today is enough or not, I think that advice is not required. What is required, a group of people who come forward, have the capacity to create and implement a solution to the problem that we are facing, and that is entrepreneurship. And therefore, solution through entrepreneur education is the secret to an affluent society. Education can regulate the affluence in any society. This in nutshell is our belief. Then what will happen in a new age? Will the new age, in that the specification, the expectation from people and the citizens and the professionals will be the same as of the last age? No, they are not going to be. For example, my parents did not see what a computer is. Rest of my life, I was just struggling with a desktop. But today, kids are even playing with a mobile. As you have seen, the search engines and everything have become a handheld device. So the future is going to be very, very different, in which the characteristics of the present are going to get replaced. And therefore, a salary and a wage earner of today will have to be a value creating entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Copycats, plagiarizers will have to be innovators. Those who are driven by the present compulsions will have to be drivers of the future. If you think you are an expert and you knew, please forget it. You will have to develop a humility to learn. If you thought you could manage and that was enough, no, you have to think and you have to lead. If you are very nostalgic with your past, that this is what you have been in the past, so this is what you will be in future, it will not work. Today's chaos has to be converted into opportunities of tomorrow. And that is what is entrepreneurship. You could do things alone, but it will not be possible any longer. Problems are complex, solutions are complex, and complex problems cannot be solved by individuals. They require collaborative approach. Example is open source and the wonders it has done. Man-intensive operation will have to have optimum automation. Production orientation will have to shift toward customer delight. Bureaucratic organizations will have to be digitized, and then processes will have to be efficient. There has to be a purpose in the organization, and the people have to be driven and motivated to work for and work in the organization. What we are fragmented and desperate today, we will have to become integrated and cohesive, and we will have to become visionary and confident leaders in innovation. We have to become. So, my dear friends, you have understood. I have tried to share with you perspective that what entrepreneurship is, what kind of a change we are looking at, what has driven this change, and I hope this will give you enough reasonable input to start thinking on the subject of entrepreneurship, and then understand how entrepreneurship can be an option for all of us in days to come. Now let us try to understand what is an enterprise, what is an entrepreneur, and how do they function. Yoga Karmasu Kausalam, it is a sloka from Gita, and it means yoga is excellence at work. Kausalam is doing work with devotion and without attachment. I think this is what the management books have been teaching us, will continue to teach us. But that has been a part of our value system. That has been a part of legacy, what we call Gita. We should be proud of it, and it's time that we start making it a part of our life. An entrepreneur is a person who has capacity to be industrious, who is compassionate enough to understand the need of the people who work with him and the society, who is humble to learn, who has patience for the results, who is honest with the society, with himself and the customer. For example, in enterprise, you are entitled for a profit, but not for profiteering. And when I say 15 to 20%, even 30% is a profit, but not 400%. That is called dishonesty and courage. Yes, he requires courage because he goes against the grain where he doesn't want security. He's mad. He believes in something, wants to do it, and puts everything at risk. That courage makes him an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur ultimately has to provide the leadership. And while he provides the leadership, this was the part of his character. This is the part of his leadership which others see. They see energy, his ability to execute, his ability to empathize, energize, envision, and also he knows when he should pass on the baton. Entrepreneurship is not about proving who is better. It's about what better value can we create for our stakeholders. In society, there are broadly two types of enterprises, for-profit and non-profit. In fact, the types of non-profit enterprises are many more than as compared to the commercial and profit enterprises. But both of them are interdependent on each other. The not-for-profit organizations like social, cultural, political, military, government, religious, they all work together to preserve, create, and sustain an ecosystem from which people and resources are given to the commercial enterprise, which uses them and then creates a profit. And this profit helps the non-for-profit enterprises sustain. So basically, any profit any enterprise makes has to get flowed back and does get flowed back into the society, whether by way of profit kept in the bank or by way of taxes collected by the government. What we consume personally is what we are capable of consuming, not what we are entitled of consuming. Our basic needs remain the same and limited, as we are seeing in today's time of corona. That don't we know and don't we realize that we are able to manage with less? But has it ebbed and reduced our entrepreneurial zeal? No. So entrepreneurship is not about consumption. It is about creation, creating more value, distributing that value favorably, and achieving your sole objective of life as a citizen of this universe. So profit, I repeat and sum up, is a and should be the soul of an economic enterprise, whatever be the motivation of an entrepreneur, professional manager. The end result must be profit. Profit or surplus is the key resource for any development in the society. What are the core constituents? When we say enterprise, what does it consist of? Well, it consists of partners, its resources, employees, entrepreneur, innovation, technology, market. These are broadly, there could be a few more, there could be a few less, but they are all held together by a spirit of enterprise. This creates a value which goes to the people and the users and the consumer as a product. This product is a result of innovation, technology, physical resources, industry, and knowledge. And it is created by the enterprise with the help of the partners, employees, entrepreneurs in the market, and everything. So all these sectors and factors of enterprise, they work in tandem, they work in cohesion. In cohesion, they create a value. That value is perceived and reaches the consumer as a product. So this in nutshell tells you what is an enterprise, who is an entrepreneur, what he does, and what value it creates. And then this enterprise, my dear friend, operates in an environment. There are two types of environment. One is the external to the enterprise, and the other is internal to the enterprise. Both of them once again create an equilibrium. For example, market, technology, employees, etc., etc. All these are something with which an enterprise works literally on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, minute-to-minute basis, and hence we call them an internal component of that environment. An external environment is basically socio-economic condition, global bodies like your WTO, IMF, etc., etc. They do not directly impact the enterprise. They do it through the governance and the politics. But direct impact on the enterprise and its performance is left by union, market, technology, employees, partners, governments, and institutions. And then to manage such a complex task one day, that entrepreneur, he has to scale up his business. And then he hires a professional manager who executes this complex task. So both professional manager and an entrepreneur create and perform an extremely important duty. They share that duty. Now, what do I mean when I say entrepreneurship new ways? I told you that we are almost at the dawn of a new age. COVID-19 has forced a rethinking on economy, on our personal lives, on the social life, on the global life. And when a new thinking emerges, I think new paths will have to be created. And I would say in this new age, the new way is going to be the one who is prepared is the one who will survive. Darwin had said, the fittest will survive. What he said was correct. But in this new age, the definition of fittest will be the one who is prepared for any eventuality is the fittest one. Fittest does not mean the person who is physically fit. Fittest is the person, apart from being physically fit, he can anticipate a problem, he can prepare a response, and he can execute the response. My dear friend, that is entrepreneurship in a new age. Let us see how this happens. So therefore, it's all about innovation and entrepreneurship. Innovation is basically new ideas, executable ideas, simple ideas. And these ideas drive entrepreneurship. They create needs in the market. Today, if we are talking about a mobile, it's a result of innovation, sir. Because somebody who innovated it, who thought about it, thought that somebody must have, like Dhirubhai Ambani, Duniya kar lo muthi mein. He had a vision and innovated. You know, somebody thought of a personal computing from a mainframe to a personal computing. It became an entrepreneurship and it became an innovation. What are the new opportunities in this new age which we will follow and achieve? I think every devastation is followed by a new phase of reconstruction. Devastation consumes and destroys natural resources and fruits of human efforts immeasurably. Entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation are needed to restore the equilibrium in the society and order in the society. Friend, the big is the future of the small. A tree comes out of the seed, and the seed comes out again from the tree. Let us not get into this cycle of which has come first. Let us confine ourselves only to it. The fact that a tree comes out of a seed, and therefore I mean to say the big is the future of the small. That means large enterprises of tomorrow are built out of the small enterprises of today. And the time has come for a new wave, new age of entrepreneurship in this post-corona world order, where the world is going to be redefined socio-economically, politically. Let us have a look how important are SMEs globally. You can see India, Japan, Korea, UK. 97% of units globally are SMEs. 70% of manufacturing jobs come from them, 32%. 95% of SMEs employ less than 100 employees. In America, half of new innovations in product and processes created every year in USA are SMEs. SMEs are the unit that employ less than 500 people. 97% of SMEs have less than 100 people, and 88% of SMEs have 19% of people and less. What is important here is, in a country like USA, half of all new innovations in product and processes are created every year in US. So, SME, enterprise, is the place where innovation is done. I think in this new age entrepreneurship, two countries are there to be watched for. China, Make in India. Why China is in the news, why it has been in the news, I don't think that should be the part of this webinar. Maybe some other time we can discuss. But let me tell you one thing, the global supply chain is going to get redefined as it looks post-COVID debacle, catastrophe. And possibly Make in India or India is going to be one of the potential contenders for those companies who want to reorganize and reshape these supply chains. This presents us with a tremendous opportunity. This is just round the corner and we have to prepare ourselves. For this, proper legislation in ecosystems are important, but more than important, that is our spirit of enterprise, our ability to take up entrepreneurship, our courage to take entrepreneurship, and also skills for entrepreneurship. In India, I would say it is the entrepreneur's turn. It is the future. The future is going to be entrepreneur in this country. Government has created in last 6 7 years many initiatives to create a conducive ecosystem. Something like Make in India, Give It Up, innovation and research, launch of GST, Mudra Bank, demonetization. I think most of these initiatives by the government of India, you must be aware. Startup India, Stand Up India, Skill India, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, Digital India. I think if I talk about Digital India, I think today's pandemic we are able to manage much better than the rest of the advanced world. I do not know how many of you are aware. It's simply because of the digital technology which has been adopted at the government level. The use of artificial intelligence, the use of network and whatnot. Most of you are aware that Make in India is creating a good platform for entrepreneurs to take up. Startup India is basically encouraging people to become entrepreneurs. It's basically trying to create Mudra Bank. It's basically creating funding. Stand Up India for the ladies. Skill India for their skills. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code saying enough is enough to those companies who have basically consumed unproductively and failingly the public resources and have not delivered, who have become irrelevant. You should be aware, under this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, government has been able to recover 4 lakh crore out of 8 lakh NPA. I must share with you, had this IBC not come 3 years back, our banks would have collapsed today. Our banks would have collapsed today with this kind of NPA. But this problem was addressed so that today banks are much better positioned to take up this challenge of corona. And you have seen in a spate of measures taken by the government that how subsidies are being given, extensions are being, how support is being given, how relief is being given. It is possible, and still our government is very, very objective, very, very optimistic that let us come out of this crisis. Future is ours, we need not worry. But this government is giving that confidence on the premise that it will have many more entrepreneurs tomorrow when the time comes to rebuild the economy from the pits it is getting into. Swachh Bharat, smart cities, housing for all, e-vehicle, replacing the IC engine-based vehicle, Skill India, innovation in agriculture, water conservation, waste management, renewable energy, river linking. Now, these are all the projects which are going to create abundant jobs. They are going to create abundant employment and entrepreneurial opportunities, a small, medium sector, micro sectors. And they are going to create a future India, India of tomorrow, a new India. Now, definitely, as we all know, that once the lockdown gets over, times are going to get tough. We are already talking about 0.5, 0.0, almost negative or a zero GDP, gross domestic product growth, GDP. So what will happen in the COVID-19 times when the lockdown gets over and we have to kickstart the economy? Some sectors of economy will go down and some of them emerge victorious. Some new sectors will be born. Who they are, what they are. For example, on the rise will be medical supplies and services, food processing and retail. You see, this year the crop is going to get bumper. But if you are not able to store this crop, it is going to get wasted. And the farmers are going to lose the money by way of the money they have invested and the hard work they have put in. And then our reserves for a future in times like corona will be restricted. Therefore, food processing and warehousing and storage has to be expanded. They have to be modernized. Personal hygiene and healthcare is going to be a new normal. And definitely it is going to reduce the budget on the load on the healthcare. Supply chain and warehousing is going to be a new normal. Skill development without no productive economy can be created. Agriculture has to get a focus back, but not with the old technology. Agriculture And every old technology, old economy will have to adopt a new technology using IoT, using Industry 4 measures, 4.0 measures, using the supply chain tools, using IoT, artificials, etc., etc. So future is a combination of old and new. Old plus new will make a gold, or I would say brick and click will go together. It is not the question of whether it's a brick or a click, or it's only a click. No, it has to be a brick and a click that will create a solution for the world of the future. Infrastructure, e-commerce, alternative energy like solar, energy storage, lithium-ion batteries, which is going to be a source for e-vehicle, storage of all this solar energy, and that will save the environment because we have to basically reduce our carbon footprints globally to save the environment. What is going to be on the decline are the tourism industry, aviation, automotive, luxury, financial services, education, oil and gas, manufacturing, non-essential, and construction and real estates. So I think there are, and most of these sectors on the rise are basically supported by MSMEs. See, what is an MNC? MNC actually cannot do without a MSME framework and a backup. Multinational companies, they actually create and scale up productions. They have got a global supply chain network. That is what they manage, which a small enterprise cannot manage. But the manufacturing of MNCs totally depends on MSME, that is micro, medium, and small enterprises. So the point is, MSME has been there, is there, and will be there. And now we have seen the previous slides also, majority of contribution a job comes from it. It is their value also which is incorporated into the total output of MNCs. And MNCs are able to keep their supply chain nimble and going only because of these MSME structure entrepreneurs. Thank you, my dear friends and ladies and gentlemen. I think these are broadly a few of the concepts I wanted to share with you so that you have your own perspective to think about entrepreneurship, the new age, and what options we have for all of us. Some of the questions which have been asked by people are something like what we have tried, what we have basically, said that what an entrepreneur should do, how he should do, can one become an entrepreneur, can we help you becoming an entrepreneur? Hundreds of questions that come to your mind. Maybe as far as entrepreneurship, entrepreneur and enterprise is concerned, opportunities is concerned, we have addressed those questions. Now, how we can help you in becoming an entrepreneur? Why should you become an entrepreneur? Some people have asked, they have been into professional life for 10 to 15 years. The answer is, look, I worked in industry for 20 years and I decided. So the point is, you have to decide the time, when is the right time for you. Yes, it requires a preparation. It cannot be jumping into a deep water without knowing how to come out of it. Let it not be an Abhimanyu syndrome. You get into a Chakravyuh, you must have a plan to come out of it. And yes, certainly, we can help in your venture, in your venture, should you decide, starting from training to helping you build your enterprise. Your feedback will be extremely critical for us. So I would say, finally, if we learn to become an entrepreneur, if we learn the art of and to take the pride in entrepreneurship, one day we may be able to build an enterprise of our dreams. Thank you so much. Now I hand over to my friend Rudra. Rudra, can you take it from here?
Again, good evening to you all. I think we have a wonderful presentation by Madhusudan sir. And now here we are taking a few questions. I understand actually when we have submitted call for the registrations, there are some responses we have recorded, and out of that couple of the participants want to become an entrepreneurs, and some of the teachers, professors want to teach their students about the new ways, and new age opportunities, whichever are there. I hope we have covered in this presentation, and mostly what is that we can do. Already a set of questions have been given, but otherwise also, since there is no questions, we are happy to answer your questions offline also. You can write to gsb gsbusiness.madhusudan@gmail.com, to Sri Madhusudan Junjunwala, and to csdrjy@gmail.com for the skill development. I mean, we are two organizations working with the same objective, and we are happy to answer you. And with this, I thank you all for attending this session. And this is the first of its series, and we are going to come out with a series of other lectures, which will be communicated to you in the later part. You can also take this particular message to your friends, and to the people who are aspiring to be the entrepreneurs, and we are happy to help them. Once again, happy evening, stay safe, stay home, and keep learning. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. God bless you.